WSMN, its owners and/or associates.
Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, as well as YouTube. We're always live up on YouTube,
Spotify, and our iHeartRadio.
All the fun places you always get your podcasts. So we are going to talk about adult friendship and adulting in general.
Well, I'm going to read a couple of memes that I have saved. I might
adulting.
have to bleep out. Once you start to realize so many people are just emotionally wounded children stuck in adult bodies, you stop taking so much crap personally.
Very true.
Hear me out. A drunk adult spelling bee with basic words. What will take you out?
Oh.
Basic words.
Right.
I think surprise would get me. And I know how to spell it.
Cinnamon would get me.
Oh, cinnamon.
Or coincidence.
Restaurant would get me another one, too. And it's such an easy word.
Yes, when you're drunk.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This would be mine.
Yes.
Cinnamon. I don't know if cinnamon. Well, I already read that.
You know
one.
why? Because I would be like, I'd be putting extra words and making another syllable if I was drunk.
Yeah. Wait,
would,
how many
right.
N's did I say already?
And M's. How many M's and M's? M's and N's?
M's and M's. People often mistake me for an adult because of my age.
So I had posted one yesterday that said, I understood. Well, wait a second. It said something like, I understood about getting older. I just didn't know what would happen to me. I think that's what it said. I don't know what. Ever since Instagram put on this add a note, I can barely touch my profile page.
I know. I think it doesn't.
And who cares? Who can even read that? Who's got their glasses on?
I don't. Who puts it up there anyway? Maybe it pops up when you do. Like maybe it pops up as a bubble quote.
A bigger one?
Yeah.
Boring.
I'm like, I'm not messing around with that. Not a single person asked me how fast I could run in my new shoes today.
Oh.
Being an adult is effing stupid.
Right.
I was like, yeah, that's true.
Right.
Things I hated as a child, getting spanked and naps. Things I love as an adult, getting spanked and naps.
I'm a terrible napper. I can't nap well. I'm always like drugged afterwards. Like I never quite wake up out of a nap.
Yeah. Yesterday we had a little bit of a downtime, and I'm like, I'm just tired. But I kept falling asleep, but then I'd wake up and falling asleep, and I felt worse after.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time, and then I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything.
So maybe there's like an age group like you should nap before 6 and then you should nap after 60. Like maybe that's when napping is useful.
Yes.
And the rest of the time it's just like, what are you doing? Get up or go to bed. Those are your. Adulting was so hard for me on Monday that I literally took a shower and went to bed at 7 o'clock because I wanted the day to be over. That's how my adult day went on Monday. I did.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to shower. And I'm just going to go to bed, and this day will be over, and I can try again tomorrow.
Yes.
And that is how
Yes.
bad adulting went for me on
Yes.
Monday.
I do. I think that we all want to. I think our inner child always is there. And I think that we take on so much responsibilities. I mean, granted, we're accepting them, asking them, we've got to go out and be on our own. We get kicked out of the nest. So we do our best we can to fend for ourselves. But I think of like even the hobbies, your sports, your interests, all those. I think those are all part of your inner child. I think even the friendships that you have as an inner child.
I do too, because the child is curious and playful.
Yeah.
And when you lose your curiosity and you lose your playfulness, then you're just an adult, and that's boring.
Yes. You're dull.
Yeah, because I there's this girl, I love her name is Allie Brioche, and she writes cartoons for adults. And so she draws what looks like simplistic cartoons, like she is a circle with it looks like a birthday hat, but it's her ponytail. And it's a comic strip, really. And she's just hilarious. And she talks about going to the dentist before a birthday party and still having the Novocaine. And
What's her name?
Allie Brioche, ALLIEB. Or maybe it's BOSCH or BROC. I'll look her up right now. She had a blog called Hyperbole and a Half. And when I was in the thick of fertility and depressed as all hell, I found her website. And I would just read it out loud by myself in a room and laugh, cry. And let's see if I can find her real name. She actually put a couple of books together. But I guess the whole point in me doing this is she says she can't adult hard. So what was she saying is, she has 3 days where she answers all the email, cleans the house, gets to the bank on time. She's got all these things, and she's like doing all the things, and then that lasts for 3 days, and then she overestimates her ability to adult, and then she falls off of a cliff.
Yeah.
Where for 7 days she doesn't do anything and goes
Going
into
to
a
bender.
depression. She's on an adult bender, is it what she is? Like being an adult as a bender.
A responsibility bender.
And I think the more organized you are, the better you adult, because adulting has so much of an administrative component.
Well, so when you see, to me, I feel like what's front loading. The more that you can get out of the way, the more that you can organize.
But if you're not a morning
then you
person,
don't have to think about it.
So I think that's for morning people.
See, I don't think I'm a morning person. Well, I mean,
you're up and productive in the morning. You are more of a
yes,
morning person.
Yes, because I've always been like that. Like even even as a kid, like and I would tell my kids, like I would negotiate with my kids when they got home from school. Hey, let's take a couple of minutes, like take 15, 20 minutes, but then let's knock out your homework. It was so easy when they were in middle school or elementary school, for sure. The beginning of middle school was super easy because they would give them homework packets that's due on Friday. They hand them out on Monday. Well, my kids would bang them out on Monday or Tuesday. I'm like, hey, you get them all out of the way right now, and then you have the whole rest of the week. So then my kids were like, oh, challenge.
Right.
And then you don't even have to think about it. If you get it done early, then you don't have to think about it the rest of the time. To me,
90% of people are like, I waited till an hour before things were due.
I do that too in some things, but if it's my life, if it's homework and something, if it's obligation,
yeah,
somebody's making me do something,
yes,
I usually will drag my heels,
right?
And I don't know why.
Well, because it's an anti-authority. Do you want me to do this? I don't want to do this.
Yes. Now it feels like work.
And I do think like front loaders and good organizers have a better handle on adulting because there is so much that has to be front loaded that requires you to be up early. Just even think of like where our work schedule of 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 came from. And I love how everyone calls it the 9 to 5, but everyone has to be at work at 8 to 5.
Right.
And no one's ever like, let's change that to 8 to 5.
You get a 9 to 5 and you get a lunch.
Right. Right. That's not how it works.
Yeah. So
then the internet took over and we got our phones, and then we never shut off because we always have access to our emails, and everybody knows that we have our phones with us, so we're never off.
Right.
So now adulting has become a 24-hour a day thing, and I don't know
because when you walk away from work and you don't have access to your email.
Right.
I mean, I guess if you could log in on your computer, but how many people want to log in on their computer? They'll say, I'll wait till tomorrow.
Right. And so that doesn't happen. And recently I was somewhere and I had a Mai Tai, and it only takes one now. And some work person's calling me trying to negotiate something. I'm like, I've had a drink. I can't have a real conversation with you.
Right.
It's Saturday.
Right.
It's 7:35.
Like fun time, man.
This was something that should have been accomplished yesterday. And then I know that other person on the other end's like, we don't have any days off.
Yeah,
we're realtors. We have like this. And I'm like, I know, but I need this hour.
Yeah.
I'm not coherent.
Yeah.
I can't be making decisions.
Yeah, but at the same time, you should use discretion and not being like, oh, I'm going to call this realtor at 8 o'clock at night, on a weekend. I would.
People are setting up showings at 8 o'clock at night for another day. Yeah, it is because part of it is, well, I'm on the road all day doing showings. Now I'm back. That didn't work. So I think adulting has just ruined being an adult.
It is. Well, but we can get back to it and set your own boundaries. Like if you don't,
Yes.
like think about even, they have those apps, Grasshopper and stuff like that, forwards your business phone number directly to your phone number. So like even with Chris's and, construction, he's never not unavailable. And I'm like, because of that exist, you have to make yourself unavailable. You literally have to say, no, I'm not going to check my emails. I'm not going to check my voicemails. It will be there
But
in the
people
morning.
feel like they're falling behind. So the technology promised to make us more efficient. And what it did, it say, you don't need the secretary. You don't need this person because we're pulling all that away. And then it never delivered. It made a promise that it never delivered. And then all it did was add more communication methods in the promise to fix the fact that it never delivered on that first promise. And we all fall for all the new promises. Now people can text, phone, email, Slack, iMessage, whatever.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, and then you have MLS, and that has its own connect feature. Then you have Crexy, that has another
Google
connect feature.
Chat. Like
And then-
there's always
so there's now, if someone is trying to look for me, they're going through 9 methods. When they finally get a hold of me, they're like, I've been trying to get in touch with you. I'm like, yeah, because you've tried 9 different methods to get a hold of me. I would have answered the voicemail and the phone if I wasn't with somebody, right?
Right.
So we have this, we've built in so much lag, and we've built in so much frustration of administrative piece that we're drowning in it.
Well, I mean, it's hard being an adult. It's hard being grown up and being responsible for everything. But at the same time, I feel like we allow it to drag us down. We don't self-protect. We don't set boundaries. We don't set bumpers. I think I told you a long time ago, we would have an agreement that the phones go off at 6:30 at night. There's no more business. We don't talk about business. After 6:30 at night, we don't talk about business anymore. We don't answer the phone. We don't respond to. Now, I mean, if it's an emergency, then yes. But again, how are you going to know if it's an emergency or not?
Right. You've got to check.
But because I think that we need to help ourselves self-regulate.
So 20 years ago, we used to have, we didn't have the ability. I mean, we were still putting ads in the newspaper. That was still like a thing. I remember my first year in real estate, we'd put ads for open houses and stuff in a paper, right? And at the time, it was a technique. If you wanted to know how motivated someone was, you would say, I'll call you by 5, but then you called at 6:30. And if they picked up the phone, you knew they were really waiting for your call.
Oh.
And if they let it go to voicemail, they don't care if I'm really calling. They're not really that motivated. That used to be like, that used to be like a little bit of a tell. It used to be like a technique
kind of
we used to try.
Yeah.
A little bit manipulative.
Actually, that's good.
Yeah, isn't that good?
Sneaky?
It's kind of sneaky and you purposely did it.
But but because people do that, I mean, you almost have to do it because I mean, it is manipulative and it is a little bit sneaky, but I can also see why. Because it's a sales, you're in negotiations, I don't know.
And
That's how I feel
that
about it.
was like, but there would be the urge to be like, I know what I want. I've been dying for this thing. And
Yeah.
you're like, but no.
Yes.
But that used to be a thing 25 years ago. It's
And
not a thing now.
letting anticipation build. Hey, but do you remember, when we were out, I remember, just not having any communication, living a life. Our children will never know what it's like.
I know.
To live you're going to be late for curfew. You got to go find a payphone and you got to scrounge up some change to go make that phone call that you're going to get there. There's so much of life that we didn't know was happening until we arrived.
Yes.
And now we just know everything all the time.
You'd have to meet up your friend, and if your friend didn't show, your friend, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
you had no other way to get in touch with them.
Yeah. So do you know, we were talking about the Gold Wings the other day, and Logan was over, and he said, "Yeah, I got I forgot the band, but his Gold Wing came with a cassette tape in." He said, "I had never seen a cassette tape before."
Wow.
And he's like, "Do you guys have any here?" And I said, "I don't, not music, but I don't think, but I have the stories the kids would get their Scholastics books on tape with the book and the tape. So I'm like, I still have those. He's like, well, I really don't want to play that on the Goldwing. Like, you don't play Clifford?
I'm sure I don't have it, but if you go to those vinyl record stores that sell old things, they might have cassettes in there. And we used to listen to comedy on cassette tape.
Oh,
Andrew Dice Clay I listened to.
George
on
Carlin's Seven
George-
Deadly Sins on, that was, he was, I was seventh grade when I heard that. Because
I was trying to think how old I was when I heard it.
Well, I
I
was
think
in
it was in high school.
all girls private school, and it might have been sixth grade. And my friend Jamie, she had invited me over to her house, and they had this whole like pool bar area downstairs, and she's like, listen to this. And that stuck with me because I had never heard anything like that before in my life. And I was like, ooh, I like this.
Yeah, I think it was in high school the first time I heard it. Wow. But I had an Andrew Dice Clay CD.
Yeah.
I mean, tape.
Yeah. So he'd ask him about an 8-track, and he's like, no, I've never seen an 8-track. And he's like, I don't even know if we have anything to play, like the cassette tape.
Yeah. And look how much has changed. And, you know, I joke that I just have my Spotify ad, and I don't want to buy any more music. Even my Spotify, I don't want them to change off of Spotify because I've curated like 600 songs.
Right.
And by playlist, clean music, you know.
Yes.
I don't. My workout music, I just don't want to have to redo this. My life is being taken up.
I hope they don't. So I switched my iTunes. I had built a great iTunes library. I can't access it anymore because I don't know why exactly. I don't know if it's because I refuse to pay for iTunes library, or it just, I don't know, somehow it got lost in transition. But I probably have 30 playlists in Spotify. I can't remember all those songs. And I put them in there. If they change that, I don't.
Yeah, we're done.
Yes.
I finally just got the
I
Deftones
might have
back
to
on my
protest.
Spotify because my in-laws just went to a concert and I'm like, I forgot about the Deftones. I was like, how did I forget about the Deftones?
I
But
don't even know what that is.
it's a band.
Oh. I was like, I thought it was like, oh, no.
But I totally forgot about them. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to add them to my Spotify. Like everything is like
Yes.
this curated list that I don't want to change. But I was thinking, what part of adulting do you like?
Freedom. Not being told what to do
Mm-hmm.
is probably the best of it.
Yes.
I can go to bed. I can make my own decisions.
Yes.
I can do whatever I want to do.
But what I'm finding is it's very disappointing that I'm doing the things that, like going to bed earlier and exercising, all the things that I didn't want to be told what to do.
Yes.
They're really the only thing that really helped me function.
All right. So what do you think is the best part of adulting?
Having money.
Yeah.
Having
Yeah.
money so that you can choose to do the things that, you know.
Well,
you
that's
would
kind of the same. It's like,
is the
yeah,
same thing,
no, nobody can tell me what to do. Like I'm responsible for my own decisions. Like I get to make my choices. I think that's the best part of being an adult, and like finding the balance of being the kid and being responsible
Right.
is the perfect balance.
Right. And I do think that when I think about all of the administrative function, like all of the paperwork, and I think I'm just drowning in a medical issue, trying to get medical records over to other people. Before you used to just like get a CD from the doctor's office and it
Yeah.
was done. Now it's 10 different doctors. They want you to make a login. You have to go find all the records yourself.
yeah.
And it's just like,
And to get your lab results, you got to create another account.
and it's like I'm sick of creating passwords and names and I'm sick of everything becoming a do-it-yourself project.
Yes.
I'm sick of everyone's a professional, but I'm still doing everything. If
Yeah,
you're the
that's true.
doctor and you're the professional, put the important stuff on a piece of paper and let me give it to another doctor.
Yes.
But like, I don't understand how everything became
Or
my
you can't
chore.
even just go by there. You can no longer just go and say, "Hey, can I sign a release form for my records?" They're going to print them out and give them to you right then. No,
Yep.
we don't do it that way.
Nope.
They just it does complicate. Technology complicates.
And what really complicated it for me was I didn't when I was in the emergency room, they're like, give us your email address. I was like, no, I didn't know what they were using the email address for. So I was like, no. So I never set up an account for while I was in the emergency room. It has been just under 6 months. I still have not gotten my records from my emergency room visit.
how do you but there are people that don't have emails.
They don't care.
I mean, but I was thinking more elderly people.
They have it too, though.
That's true. I mean,
that's-
well,
yeah.
some people.
So so they were doing at Harley. They were doing demo rides at Loudon. We got to watch the sports bike race, which is really fun. And John's getting ready to go for a ride. He has to fill in on a iPad all of his information, his license, sign waivers. You have to, because they have to data mine you.
Oh, yes.
We'll give you a free ride, but data mine you. So we're going to sell all your data information. You're going to be getting Progressive ads tomorrow. I mean, the email's going off the minute he finishes it. He's waiting in line. They're like, okay, what do you want to ride? He's like, I want to ride the CVO. Okay, 40 minutes of waiting. He goes, okay, the CVO's here. Come here. Oh, wait a minute. Your waivers aren't signed. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have your information.
Right.
Go back over there. He goes start filling it out again. They're like, it's not uploading. And he goes, you know what? Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we've been having a problem with data uploading to the connection. Yeah, because there's 50 of you touching it.
Right.
And you
You're
know what? There
bombarding
used to
the
be a piece
system.
of paper that had the waiver on it.
Yes.
You signed the bottom.
Yes.
10 seconds.
Yes.
Now you're filling in
You got to give them
pieces-
your insurance. You got to your member number, your social
ID,
security,
your
date of-
driver's license,
yes.
and like
your next of kin.
with all of this, and the reason why I know the reason why I'm saying it every week when I say it is because we're drowning in it, and
Yeah.
it is not making our lives better. And it's only instead of buying the next one, let's weed out what's not working.
Right.
Let's stop giving it air. Let's stop giving it clicks. Let's stop. I wish that everyone went, nah, I'm not filling out a 12-page online system thing
See, I
for
think
your
that,
free
but
ride.
I think that things would change if we, as a people, started demanding more from customer service. We started demanding that you have more cashiers at the checkout, and they say, well, that there's not enough people that are working. Well, why don't you create a space where people actually want to work there? It's always like you walk in and there's always, like I remember going to the grocery store and every register was open. Every register.
I worked at a
And
supermarket.
even at Market Basket now, like they have more than everybody else has up and running. I actually walked into Michael's the other day. And I bought something, and she's like, I was standing there. I was standing in line, standing behind the little candy aisle waiting for my turn to be called. And she's like, do you want to just self-check out? So I'm just standing there for a while, and I saw her standing there, and I was like, are you going to ring me up? Or I didn't even realize because I didn't realize. She's like, oh, it's all self-checkout now.
So I had a moment where I could have almost been arrested at Whole Foods. So I'm
This
just
week?
this was the week before. I think I told you, didn't I tell you this story?
I don't know. You said you had a funny story you were going to tell me for the show on the radio.
Oh,
Today.
I don't know if it wasn't this one because this one was almost embarrassing because I went from pleasant, smiling, cherub-like demeanor to hell-raising, burn this
Ghetto.
building down, ghetto in 10 seconds. No, 0.10 seconds. So I'm wringing myself out, and there's a lady, and she's rubbing moisturizer on her hands, right? Because she just washed them, or maybe she's rubbing hand sanitizer. I don't know. So, but she's rubbing her hands, and she smiles, and I smile, and now I'm putting my purse down. I'm getting, the whole rigmarole, and I'm wringing myself. And as I'm wringing the eggs, my thumb goes through the carton on the side, and I stick my thumb through an egg.
Wow.
So I have sticky.
That's some sharp nails, girl.
I know. Pointy. So I stuck because I'm moving kind of fast
yeah.
too, and like
Yeah.
the angle, and I just was like, oh my God. So now I have egg on my finger, raw egg on my finger, sticky, and I'm now pissed, right? That I'm even in this scenario, right? So I said to her, I'm like, I just stuck my finger through the egg. Could you go grab me this kind of egg? And she goes, no. Rubbing her hands. No. You can go get the eggs. And I'm like, I'm halfway wrung out of this thing. And then in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe she can't leave her post. I go, could you go get me somebody else to get some eggs? And she goes, no, this is self-service. I go, this isn't self-service. This is you don't have enough people to ring me out. Go get me a manager. And she goes, I don't like the way you're speaking to me. I go, I don't like the way you're speaking to me. Get me a manager. And now like the whole section
everybody's
is trying to like.
because so what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to leave all of your stuff and like now everybody behind you is like, why did she just walk off? Are they going to just cancel you out? Like
And
if you walk
so
away
she-
and I've been waiting in line, I am going to cancel you. I will hit the cancel button and I will start ringing my stuff up. Just say it straight out.
So then, of course, someone's walking over because there's a skerfuffle, and I look at them. I go, "Can you go get me these eggs?" And so they go to get the eggs, and she walks back. She's like, "I don't like the way you were speaking to me." I'm like, "I don't like the way you were speaking to me. I'm a paying customer. You're getting paid to work here, and you're not working here, and I'm working here double."
Right.
And I
Did
was
you
like,
get
"Calm
paid?
down."
What's your job title? Did you just get paid to stand there?
So, and I'm saying to myself, calm down. Don't fling all of the eggs on the floor. Because I'm still holding sticky broken egg carton in my hand. She didn't offer me a wipe. She was,
Yeah.
and I was just like, and then I was like, oh my God, I want to throw these on the ground. It took, so that's the adult in me.
See,
The
that would have been
adult in
taking
me-
the bad eggs, and you just take them. You just
I was going to be like, all these
throw them
eggs
on the
are-
ground, but then as you walk by, you just stomp, stomp, stomp.
So I live in this town, and I was
I guess
so
true.
this is the problem when you live in the town, and you're like, I'm going to be a representative of the town in
now
this
you have
moment,
to go. And the face of a radio show.
and a radio show host,
Behave, calm down, calm down. Behave.
you know. But and and that's again part of the adulting of like, God, everything is my responsibility.
Yes.
Even the like no one can help. No one can look at another human being and like, wow, her fingers in egg yolk.
So,
And
Chris,
she is trying to keep it from getting all over everything else she's touched. And I'm not going to help her out at all. Why? Because she's some adult who needed a smack in the face. But she's some, or have like eggs thrown at her. I really
so
felt
what
like,
you should do is, so that if it ever happens, what you should do is like you get something to trip up, so they have to come over and take care of your computer,
I should have put my sticky egg finger all over the thing so that everyone
Yes.
touched it. But like,
or take the egg out and just now you're
but
smearing
the thing is,
it all
I don't
over
want to
the-
be that person. I never
Oh,
want to
but
be
my
that
inner
person.
child does. Don't you want her? Let her something. Wouldn't it just feel
She
good?
does want to get out.
So I was telling the kids the other day when they were talking about their gold wings, and I said, I said something. I said, in an ideal world, like if you didn't have to have consequences for things, I said I would definitely pay $500 to get a beater of a car.
And just smash it.
No, just a beater of a car to drive around town, and like, yes, I will rear end you. I will back too far out into the thing if you're going to be a jerk. Like, just, demolish stuff. So Noah was saying the best car to have is like a 1990 rusted out Honda Civic with like different color panels, because everybody's going to want to park away from you.
Yes, right. Exactly.
I'm like, yeah, dude, that $500 to being like, the people that cut you off or the people that pull into your parking space or just absolute, a-holes about things.
Yeah.
I would love to have a beater for those moments.
Yeah.
Cut me off.
And I wondered if being an adult is so annoying to everyone and we're so frustrated all the time that we've lost the ability just to be human.
Yes.
Any other scenario, if I saw you with egg on your hand at the register, even if you were a worker there, I would grab you like, oh, there's got to be paper towels here. Something like I would totally try to help you.
Oh, yeah.
But are we all to our brim? Are we all exhausted from the influx?
Well, also too, but I think that's part of the reason why it comes back to the bumper sticker I was talking about, the little boy peeing
Yes.
on Ford or whatever it was, he was, whatever his saying was. It's the truth is because we have those experiences and we feel that burden of adulthood and responsibilities that we'd actually forget the enjoyment. So we're so busy rushing to get kids homework done, food, and get them to sports that we don't actually sit at the sports game and watch our kid. We don't watch the moment because we're in that aggravation, and then we have another negative thing. So we pile all that negative stuff, and the next thing you know, that's where we are.
Yeah. So I was explaining this. So this, I have 90% of my altercations in my head at the supermarket because I'm at the supermarket so much. But I was having a bad day. This was this was this Monday when the adulting, when I just went to bed at 7 because I'm like, you know what, this day needs to
Was this
end.
the Whole Food incident then?
No, this was a different day. That was last week's Whole Food incident. But I really couldn't believe that someone would stand there who physically is being paid to work and is currently not working. I cannot believe that it's an acceptable, like she's not frightened of
No, because her only job, this is what gets me about Walmart. Her only job is probably to make sure that you guys are nobody's stealing something.
Right.
They're not ringing things through. So I was asking somebody in line at Walmart, and I'm like, why do they even check the receipts? They have no clue. They're just looking at my bags. Right. They have no clue as what's inside of it. And she said it's because if it's not bagged, they stop you.
Oh.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I refuse to give them my receipt. I refuse to give. If you had more cashiers, then we wouldn't have this problem.
My sister-in-law sent me a meme that had a guy, well, he was a comedian, and he was talking about how much authority the guy at Costco or Walmart has that checks the receipts. He goes, we won't stop for police.
Right.
But we stop for the receipt checker guy.
I try not to, man. I hate it.
And I said to her, Robin and I do not.
No.
You want to figure that out?
The other day, and I had a bag of cat food, and it wasn't in a bag. And I could see him walking towards me, and I literally let him watch me put my receipt in my purse. And I said, have a great day. And he's like, and I just kept walking.
So that's one of the great things about being an adult.
Touch me. I'll go get my beater of a Honda car and...
But I do think it's the aggravate. We're all so aggravated at all times. And, the part of you that's like, I don't want to give my parents any credence.
Yeah.
To like why they were behaving badly sometimes. And you're like, but here I am.
Well, see, I think that if you put more good in, if you start to put more good in, like I could definitely go ghetto. I would definitely get my beater of a car and, stalk somebody through the parking lot was being rude.
It took every ounce of impulse control when she was like, no, I'm not getting a manager. No one's helping you. You're at self-service. To not take the eggs, open them up, and with my sticky hand, take every egg and fling it on. Someone's going to come over and help me.
Or start throwing at her. If you could just launch it right at her toes.
Do not be arrested. Do not be arrested.
I have some good ideas for payback. But don't do it.
But, and the part of me that's like, how can you, I don't know, how can we, is it that we're all, what is it about us that makes us this way? Is it are we just overburdened?
I think we
just
have
aggravated?
More sex.
Maybe.
More sex or love. Better, But
and that's how I know I'm not in a good mood. I didn't laugh at that. I didn't laugh at my nail going through the egg.
Yeah.
And you know why I didn't laugh? Because I was wringing myself out.
Yeah.
If I had done that in line where somebody else was taking care of my bagging and my cashiering, I might have been like, I'm an idiot. Do you have any paper? Like, I could have been, but I was at my overflow
Or even
threshold.
if somebody was ringing it up, I'm going to be like, oh, I'll go get them. I'll run back and get them.
Yes. So when we were talking last week and you were like, I wonder why people are so nasty. And I was like, the overflow, I was overflowing in that moment.
Well,
how do we prevent the overflow?
Stop being stressed out.
How do we do that? When your finger's through the egg and you're wringing yourself, is it never shop at the place that makes you wring yourself out?
Well, the idea is originally to never get yourself to that point where you're...
And how do you do that as an adult with all this
I don't know. So because I get angry every time I see somebody in the little blue Walmart vest standing at the door. And I'm like, all right, game on.
Right.
Every time I walk in. And I actually start to look to see, like, are you there? Are you watching? So what I do instead of that, the lady behind me had the scooter cart. And she was reaching over for something in her bag. And I said, oh, can I help you? So I unloaded her groceries out of her cart that she was behind me.
So doing something nice.
Yes.
Undoes that feeling.
So I think, and I'm just like, all right. And now I can go back to making a joke about it because I made somebody else smile. Like you saw her energy, how grateful she was for it. So I always try to find those moments of like, how can I make somebody smile? How can I because in order for me to...
Being a pay it forward adult.
Well, in order for me to make somebody else smile, it has to come from within me. I have to manufacture that energy in order to put it out there, is how I feel about it. So I'm like, which beast am I going to feed? So then if I go and do something nice, I think something really crappy, and then I go and try and do something nice. And I don't always win.
So you know how many
The good
times,
girl doesn't always win.
yeah, how many times I have said to myself, and my mother's passed away, so I can't say it to her, but I say it out loud, like, you were right. This is too many things. Like,
Yeah.
when she went back into the workforce, she's like, I'm not doing laundry. I'm not cooking. I'm not trying to get dinner on the table. We can eat out. We can bring our laundry to the dry cleaners. Like, I am taking things off my list.
Yeah.
But I'm the
But
opposite.
back then it was a little bit more affordable to do those things too.
Yes, that's true. Oh my God, the dry cleaner. I'm gonna have to stop and I have to stop buying stuff that has to be dry cleaned.
Well, I still wash a lot of my things.
$20-something for one dress to dry clean.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And now you're going to be like, do I really want to wear that dress? Because now I got to go take it to the dry cleaners. It's always, every time you wear it.
Yeah. So the clothes has gotten better that you don't have to dry clean as
Yeah.
much, but I do have a lot of nice things that need dry cleaning. And
Yeah.
I was pulling stuff out today, and I'm like, I'm not going to take the stuff out of the bag. No, not yet. Because it's going to be sweaty. I don't want to sweat in that just yet. I don't want to sweat in that just
That's
yet.
true.
But I do think we all have so much on. Like, adulting is hard. But
Well, you
then
always
we
have a
also
lot on your plate.
so much on. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a lot on our plates, but we also have to learn how to take stuff off that does not serve us. I have a question for you about friendship.
Okay.
Do you think people in relationships, friendships, intimate relationships, do you think people expect more than they give, or do you feel like it's more balanced?
I think what ends up happening is when you're really close with someone, you are your true self, and sometimes you are taking more than you give. But then you realize that you're doing it, and then you make sure, because I'm thinking of, like, real friends you can unload your burdens on, your real friends, but then you're like, oh, I don't want to burden them because I love them.
Consciously, yes.
So I do think that there's the seesawing of sometimes I give too much, sometimes I take too much, sometimes I give too much, sometimes I don't think it's
Well, I think there is a give and take, but the overall, I think both people have to have that sense of feeling that this relationship is value for value, because there are going to be times.
So what do you think?
Well, I was thinking about sometimes more of people have this expectation that you're going to do something or you're going to love them in a specific way, and they don't match you back.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Or like, you know what? I wish they would call me more.
I see what you're saying.
Like, so
Okay.
I wish they would call me more, but you don't pick up the phone. Or I wish we could do this more times, but you don't do, like, or I wish we could go on a date. Or so kind of the same.
I'm a person who, and I've been thinking about this woman. I mean, we are more acquaintances than friends. So I have more acquaintances than we can talk about. You know, in my business, I'm around people all the time, but I know that I'm friendly. I care about them. I try to keep up with them on a real level. But I'm also not that. I came into social media later, so I was still doing it in real life a lot. But I know her husband. We've had her and her husband over at our house for dinner. She helped me. She's a stager, so I used her in business a lot, and we grew out of that. But it's a friendship in which we sit down and have dinner and we have an honesty, but then we might not see each other for a year.
Right.
It's
Yes.
that kind.
Yeah.
But I know that that's an acquaintance. But I make the effort, even though it's been a long time, which would be weird to all of a sudden hear from someone. I know that there's a weirdness, and I don't let the weirdness bother me, and I pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
And so I recently did this with this woman. I picked up the phone, and she was like, "You're always so good about this, and you always catch me when something's happening and I really need something."
That's cool.
And I think there's so much of us, again, I didn't have children, but my friends had children. And there were times when they were in the thick of diapers and bottles and changing and feeding and working. And instead of taking offense that they didn't call me first, I always just call them because I know they mean to, or I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. In that, so I will always pick up the phone first. I will always ask first, and I do that out of because I know how awkward it could be when there's time.
Yeah. When
And-
too much time goes by.
And my real friendship is it doesn't matter.
right. Right.
I really care about you still if it's been one
But
year
even
or
like
1 month.
personal relationships. I mean, it is kind of a funny story, but it's true. Last night, Chris was he was going to meet Logan for golf, and he's like, yeah, we're only going to do 9 holes, and he's like, hey, can you run out and get something at the store? And I was like, no. He said, hey, can you do me a favor? And I said, maybe. And he's like, what? And I said, well, it depends on what it is. And he's like, every time you ask me, I always say, of course, I'm always willing to help. And so I just turned around and I said, like that bathroom?
Fighting words.
No, fight, yes.
Fighting words.
But I said, and he knew I was just joking. And I said, yeah, but I don't want to say something that I'm not going to be, that if I can't meet that expectation. So, and he's like, well, that was a good way to put it out. And he's like, yours is just limiting. And I said, no, I'm more than willing to do it. If you don't know by now,
Right.
dude, I will carry a donkey uphill for you. I love you so much if I can do it.
Right.
But there are times, and so he was like, can you run to the store? And I'm like, nope, I'm not going back out.
Right. And I'm not going to a supermarket. I'm not. Yeah.
I'm like, I can get it tomorrow, or you can stop. And he's like, it's a mile and a half down the road. And I'm like, but you're already a mile closer.
and you're going out. I'm in my home.
Right. And he's like, fair enough. And I'm like, yes, I will do it with it if it's in my possibility. But if it also, like,
I don't want to resent you and do it. I don't want to do it and resent you.
right.
So I think that's a really good.
I don't think when somebody asks you for a favor and you ask for what it is, and like, if you can be honest, even if he had said that to me, like, I respect that. I respect the fact that you can say no, and you should respect that I can say no. And he was really cool about it.
Well, I actually think we don't probably do that actually enough. Because
we take on and we say yes, but then we never deliver. And that was my whole point about the whole bathroom thing. And I mean, I get why that's taking a little bit longer than running down to the grocery store, but so I was just I was kidding with him because he knows that I'm patient with, I know he's got a lot on his plate. So he just accepted it, but I was like, he had that expectation
that it should only be
I would
yes.
always say yes.
Yeah.
And like, if I ask you this, that you're not going to tell me no.
Right.
And even though it's not a big deal. And I was like, I know me.
Right.
This might put me in a resentful state, so I'm going to say no.
But that's really beautiful to know. Like, don't do things out of resentment. Don't say yes and then do it out of resentment. Just say no.
Yes.
Because that's kinder to the relationship in the long run today.
Yes.
Don't,
I knew that if I went out, I was already tired. I needed to get some other things done at the house that I hadn't had time. There's nobody at the house, so it gives me time to I can go through and do the things that I need to do. Because I got busy stuff, and I'm like, I know that if I went out of that house yesterday, I would be cussing him all the way up there and all the way back. And I'm like, that's 40 minutes, or 40 minutes of my time, 30 minutes of my time.
Aggravate you for 40 minutes unnecessarily.
And then he would come home, and he would just be,
and he wouldn't know why you were mad.
Right.
Right. That's really, really great. Maybe we need to do that more. We definitely not. I'm probably someone who needs to do that. One of the things I was going to say is, if you said to me, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" and I showed up and you're like, we're going to move all this furniture, I would be mad at you.
Right.
I would want you to say, hey, can you help me move furniture? And
Yes.
I would say,
yes.
That way I can say yes or no.
Yes.
Not, I'm thinking we're going and I'm like in another outfit because I didn't know I was grunt labor today.
Yes. Yes.
So I think language like that is important because, I have had times where people have been like, hey, do you want to hang out? Or do you want to do something? And I show up and they're like, why are you dressed like that? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I was digging a hole today.
Right.
But I'm happy to help you dig a hole if I know I'm digging a hole.
Right. Right. Be clear and concise. But it's also, I think about is like not taking stuff on. You're talking about being an adult and being so stressed out is being able to just take stock and being like, does this serve me? Me doing a favor for you, does it serve me? Is this going to be a value for value?
Or am I going to resent doing this favor for you?
Do I have something, time? Because most of the time I'd be like, yeah, I'll go. I mean, I drove up to Grantham to drop off a certificate. Like,
Right.
I don't mind. But today, No. And being able to have that space and him having to respect it back, like, hey, I knew this was going to be too much on my plate.
Yeah.
And this is going to cause me stress. So I'm actually blessing you and loving you by not stressing myself out.
Right, because then you're going to have to deal with me for the whole weekend.
Right.
Stressed.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I think that is the mark of a really great relationship, is that you can do that and that's still allowed. Like, there are some people who, I know that there are people in relationships where they treat that relationship as their staff.
Yes. Yes.
You know what? I'm snapping my fingers. You need to do something. I need something. You need to do, like, they're.
Yeah.
So it's really great that you have that, and that there is that space to be like 99 times.
Yes.
I got you, but this one time I'm not going to the supermarket.
Yes. And I had already been out twice earlier that day, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I've got stuff,
And
been
actually,
putting off.
I think we do this more as women than men do it as men. You give 100 reasons why it's going to be a no instead
Yes.
of just no.
Yes.
So that's one thing.
Because no is a complete sentence.
No is a complete
But I also
sentence.
think, too, is we're trying to,
in a closer relationship, yes.
I was
you
going to
could
say
give
we're trying to
experience.
train, but I think what you're trying to do is you're trying to expand
Expectations.
and expand their awareness of,
Yeah,
like,
of like your expectation.
It's not because I don't love you.
Yes, and your expectation is that I would just help you right at this moment, but it depends on what the help is.
yes.
At this moment, doesn't mean. And your expectation is I'm not going to say no every time you ask me for a favor, but
Right.
this one particular time.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
I like that. So I just feeling like, because he had an expectation that I was going to say yes.
Right, because you always say yes.
Yes.
Or most of the time.
And
you're
then,
saying
and
yes.
he didn't. I mean, but he got home and he's like, grumbled. And I was like, just go take a shower. And then he came, he got out of the shower and then he's fine. He's
Yeah.
happy. And he's like, okay, it was not a big deal.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but
Oh,
I
go
do
on.
think that's.
but it's knowing your boundaries. It's knowing your boundaries and knowing what you need.
And I do think that in relationships, it's important that you both support each other,
Yes.
so that it's not one person only having to do all of the things and the other person only making the ask.
Yes.
Because
So
that
I feel like, we haven't been in a restaurant. We have not been in a restaurant. I don't even, Takumi's was the last time we went a couple of weeks ago. But I don't really think that is like a real sit-down restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, he comes over and takes care of us. He get our drinks and stuff like that. So it is it's food out, but actually for Chris and I to sit down and have like a date. So yesterday when we went out to lunch with the boys, he's driving home and he's like, wow, it's been a long time since we've been in a restaurant. And I'm like, you're right. And I said, I kind of like it every once in a while. Like, it's a different, but I want the experience.
right.
Like, I want the experience. And it made me think about, expectations like that. I want him to take me on a date. I have mentioned it a couple of times, but then I forget about it because it just would be nice. Something to do. It's rainy, yucky weekend.
I also think the date puts the expectation into, hey, we're going to be in a better space.
Yes. So I just said to him, well, wait a minute. I want him to date me. I want him to take me on a date. Why not? I can take him on a date. So I had that expectation of, well, he's not taking me on a date.
Right.
So I had called him and asked him if he wanted to go to lunch with me. And he's like, oh, that was so sweet. So I think just trying to shift the dynamics. Like, we always have this expectation that the wife is going to cook the meal and cook the dinner or do this, or it's always the guy to pay for the dinner. Or,
Do you know, I just saw a statistic that like 75% of people don't make meals at their house.
what?
I just saw this.
Oh, we were going to talk about recipes, summer recipes too.
I know. Just chatting
What?
up a storm.
75 people don't make meals at home. What do
I've-
they DoorDash, or they do the fresh, or
Yeah, they're doing. Well, you still have to make those,
Oh.
but they're door dashing, Ubering, and all of those other things. But that they're not. And then it was like, of that, a high percentage of them are physically eating alone. Because I was doing some research for the TED Talk that I wanted to do, and I wanted to do it around connection around food, very
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
specifically. And I was like, is this even going to land? Because no one's. Because what I was saying was, when you're making your meal, invite a neighbor, invite a friend. Don't forget to have that communal piece. And I was like, no one's even doing the basic first step of it.
right.
Isn't that crazy? So I'll get you the exact stats because I wrote them down at home.
Gosh, that is interesting. Yeah, so one of Jonah's friends were over the other night. And I was making those pizzas, that Greek pizza.
That
and
looked
Oh
fantastic.
my gosh, it was so good. Um, Quaid walks in and he's like, "Oh, that looks good." And I'm like, "Do you want a piece?" And he's like, "Well, I'm supposed to go out to dinner. He's going on a date with his girlfriend. He's getting ready to go back to college." And he had been out to lunch that morning or breakfast lunch with his mom. He's like, I've eaten like total junk food all the last couple of days. But then, so he ended up eating like 3 pieces of pizza at our house, went to Mexican, and then they all went to Old Tavern or something. It's in Milford or something. And he's like, I just got onion rings there. But he was like, I've literally eaten out. And it was really sweet because he did say, your pizza was the best.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, thank you.
Yeah, and I think you're always trying to do a connection piece with your food. Yes, you're trying to feed them, but it's also bring everyone back in and connect.
Yes.
So it's a touchstone, and it's a ritual, and it's a routine.
And feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think we do feel, you've got to watch that movie, Nana's.
Oh, I did.
Did you like it?
I did like it.
Oh my God.
I did. I watched it. I really liked it. But one of the things that I think is so interesting about that is back to not necessarily Nana's, but there was a salad. We had ordered some stuff, and then we took home leftovers, and there was salad left over. And I said, "Go get yourself a salad." He's like, "Yeah, no, probably not gonna." And I'm like, "But it's right there." And I'm like, "Do you want me to put it in a bowl and give it to you?" And he's like, "I wouldn't say no." So I put it in the bowl. And then, but then my sister-in-law says, "It's always better when someone else makes it for you."
Yes.
And I'm like, I forgot that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it is always better when someone, so make someone something yummy to eat.
And Chris is like, hey, do you think you can make me a sandwich? Like, what
It's
are you
better
doing
when-
right now?
yeah,
Oh,
right.
of course I will. Yes.
Yes, because it's always better when someone else makes
Not going
it.
to the store at 6 o'clock at night, but yes, I'll make you a sandwich.
And I'm not going to be resentful all weekend long.
Yes. Exactly. I'll be happy all day.
So thank you for tuning in to another Lisa and Robin on the mic. You were listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can always watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as YouTube. Please like us and follow us. We will see you next Thursday.